All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining me, and appreciate all of you who have subscribed and watched the first video of this channel. And I'll be doing many more. I was just kind of trying to feel this out to see how it was going to go, and it looks like it's going to have a little bit of legs under it, and hopefully it continues to grow. If you don't want to listen to me talk, I'll put a timestamp on the video so you can jump right ahead to the reaction. But I will be talking before and after and during to let you know how it affects me, how I see the arguments that are presented. And so I appreciate you guys listening to me. It's going to take me a while to get my feet under me, but we'll do our best. One of you asked the question, what religion was I a part of, or what cult was I a part of? I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses for 20 years. So I'm former now, obviously. I was about 14, 15 when I entered because my mom was a convert. And she, being a single mom, moving around a lot, had sort of been searching for something. She had sort of given up on life to some degree about what the purpose of life was and so forth. And so she happened to be scooped up by the Witnesses as her first experience. Might have been vulnerable to other cults as well, but that was just the one that got her. And it got me too, because I was a mama's boy. We traveled around together a lot because she moved so often. And I had very low self-esteem, bullied as a kid, all kinds of things that left me ripe for the picking to follow her into this religion. And so just by that circumstance alone, I joined. And the reason is because there's so much love given to you when you come in. They all surround you like you're the shiny new toy. Your self-esteem is built because all of a sudden you're the most special and precious thing to everybody around you. And that makes a difference to a young kid like me who was very vulnerable to that. And another point I want to make too, and I think this is important as well, is I didn't have many girlfriends growing up. In fact, none at all, pretty much. And Jehovah's Witnesses have a lot more women than they do men. And so the girls are very desperate to get married because there's no sex before marriage in that particular religion. And so there was a girl that fancied me as well. So it became very easy for me to become interested quick in that religion. And it's why a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses get married very young, too young, and there ends up being a lot of divorces as well, which I also went through. All right, so that's just a little background. I'll keep expanding on that as we get along in this channel, but I just wanted to kind of let you know what cult I came from and what my experiences are, how I left, and so forth as we go along. And we're going to be doing some more Christopher Hitchens. So this time he's debating Tony Blair. I've just kind of set up the Christopher Hitchens parts because I don't want to make the video too long. But if you think I should be listening to the other side of the debates as well, I can do that. That's no problem. Again, I'm just learning how to do this and trying to find a way to organize my thoughts so that instead of just randomly throwing out ideas, I can sort of piggyback on what some of these atheists have to say. Another thing I want to mention too about the channel name, Happy to be Agnostic. The reason I didn't choose an atheist title, it's just I don't think there should be a word for atheism. I really don't. Just like there shouldn't be a word for not believing in fairies or things like that. Atheism is not a thing. It's not a belief. It's just a rejection of the evidence that there's a God. Because I'm an atheist when it comes to other gods too. And so are you. And so are most people. I don't believe in Zeus or any of those. So I don't like the word. And I also don't like, because I come from a cult, I don't want to just jump into another group type of think where that could also lead to cult-like thinking. I want to follow the pattern of, I guess, Socrates, who said the beginning of wisdom is admitting you don't know anything. And so rather than saying I'm absolutely positive of this, I would rather say I don't know. And that's not a cop-out, I don't believe either. I believe that is just a way of saying I don't believe that there's enough evidence that there's a God. But I also don't know everything about the universe and what happens if there is some kind of life beyond this. All the evidence obviously points to that there isn't. But I always like to leave it open, in case there's something we don't know or we learn in the future. And that will probably be through science. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but and I'm not perfect, so I'm gonna be learning as I go as well, because I'm stepping out of something into a life where I'm trying to regain some sort of sense of myself and normalcy, and it's very hard to do when you've been in a cult. It's very much like PTSD when you come out. There's a lot of nightmares, a lot of regret, and a lot of humiliation, because I do feel humiliated being a part of something like that, getting out and looking back and going, how could I be so wrong? So that's all going to be a part of this as well. And again, I hope I'm not too long-winded. Again, skip ahead if you don't want to listen to all this, okay? So let's take a look at some Hitchens. I'm really enjoying that. I know there's other atheists out there, so give me some ideas what I could listen to, and we'll continue this. The sky's the limit as far as what we're going to do here. All right, let's take a look at Christopher Hitchens debating Tony Blair. Let's go.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have a text, and it is from, because I won't take a religious text from a known extremist or fanatic, it's from Cardinal Newman. Recently, Prime Minister Blair's urging beatified on his way to canonization, a man whose apologia made many Anglicans reconsider their fealty and made many people join the Roman Catholic Church, and is considered, I think rightly, a great Christian thinker. My text from the Apologia. The Catholic Church, said Newman, holds it better for the sun and moon to drop from heaven, for the earth to fail, and for all the many millions on it to die in extremest agony, than that one soul, I will not say will be lost, but should commit one venial sin, should tell one willful untruth, or should steal one farthing without excuse. You'll have to say it's beautifully phrased, ladies and gentlemen. But to me, and here's my proposition, what we have here, and picked from no mean source, is a distillation of precisely what is twisted and immoral in the faith mentality. Its essential fanaticism, its consideration of the human being as raw material, and its fantasy of purity. Once you assume a creator and a plan, it makes us objects in a cruel experiment whereby we are created sick and commanded to be well. I'll repeat that. Created sick and then ordered to be well.
Okay, so he makes the point that we're part of a cruel experiment. And this is what I was taught. Story of Job's a good example. And I call it a story now because it's not, I don't believe it's true anymore. But the story goes that Satan believed that Job only served God out of selfish reasons. And that if God was to not give him the things that he has, he would turn on him. And of course, Satan was allowed to give him, take away everything, his family, everything, give him a plague, and see if that was true. And even Job's wife was like, why don't you just curse God and die? And Job refused to do that. And so here Job was a part of this experiment, so to speak. And we were taught that we are a part of that experiment still. And that whatever things happen to us that are bad, it will all be for the better in the future, even if it's not in this life, in the next life. And pretty cruel experiment when you think of it, for thousands of years. If that's the case, angels and demons, God and Satan, basically having a universal debate and using us as the fodder for that to prove their point. And what choice did we have in all of that? So that he makes a good point there.
And over us to supervise this is installed a celestial dictatorship, a kind of divine North Korea. greedy for uncritical praise from dawn till dusk, and swift to punish the original sins with which it so tenderly gifted us in the very first place.
Yeah, that's right. So you're not allowed to question it. Your doubts are your problem.
However, let no one say there's no cure. Salvation is offered. Redemption, indeed, is promised at the low price of the surrender of your critical faculties. Religion, it might be said, must be said, would have to admit, makes extraordinary claims, but though I would maintain that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, rather daringly provides not even ordinary evidence for its extraordinary supernatural claims. Therefore, we might begin by asking, and I'm asking my opponent as well as you when you consider your voting, is it good for the world to appeal to our credulity and not to our skepticism? Is it good for the world to worship a deity that takes sides in wars and human affairs? To appeal to our fear and to our guilt, is it good for the world? To our terror of death, is it good to appeal?
No.
To preach guilt and shame about the sexual act and the sexual relationship, is this good for the world? And asking yourself the while, are these really religious responsibilities, as I maintain they are?
Another point he makes is it good to appeal to our fear and our guilt and our shame? And I submit it is not. Based on my experience, fear was part of what drove me into it. The fear of the end of the world, Armageddon. I remember George Bush Sr. talking about a new world order, which is mentioned sort of in the Bible. And things happening in the Middle East that sort of resembled Armageddon beginning. So that fear kind of drove me into it in a way. And then guilt and shame takes over because you can never live up to it. You're always continuously feeling guilty, and then it's your fault that you're not living up to what is being taught, that you're never making God happy enough, and that any thoughts that creep in, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, you're accused of thought crime in a sense. And so you're always feeling guilty. You're always feeling like you're just dirt and mud and worthless. And you're always trying to pray to God for forgiveness for that. Not good. It's terrible for you. And that's what cults do. That's what religion, that base their everything on what the Bible teaches in an extreme way. That's what they do. And that's why it's not good for you.
To terrify children with the image of hell and eternal punishment, not just of themselves, but of their parents and those they love. Perhaps worst of all, to consider women an inferior creation. Is that good for the world? And can you name me a religion that has not done that? To insist that we are created and not evolved in the face of all the evidence. Religion forces nice people to do unkind things, and also makes intelligent people say stupid things. Handed a small baby for the first time, is it your first reaction to think, beautiful, almost perfect, now please hand me the sharp stone for its genitalia that I may do the work of the Lord? No. It is very self-evident in our material world. Let me ask Tony again. Everyone in the civilized world has roughly agreed, including the majority of Arabs and Jews.
Okay, so he makes another good point there, too. Makes you do bad things that you wouldn't normally do. And aside from circumcision, other things, even in our religion where shunning is a huge thing. I mean, my mom won't even talk to me now. She can't. She's not allowed to. It's not that she doesn't want to, but her beliefs state that because I left, she cannot engage with me. She can't even eat with me because of a Bible scripture. And the idea is to shame me to come back. So the intention they feel is good. But no normal person would do that to their kids if they had a difference of opinion, even on beliefs like that. And so it forces you to do things that you don't want to normally do. And there's a long list of them. And we'll continue to go through that as we uncover more of this.
And the international community, that there should be enough room for two states, for two peoples in the same land. I think we have a rough agreement on that. Why can't we get it? The UN can't get it. The US can't get it. The Quartet can't get it. The PLO can't get it. The Israeli parliament can't get it. Why can't they get it? Because the parties of God have a veto on it, and everybody knows that this is true. Because of the divine promises made about this territory, there will never be peace, there will never be compromise. There will instead be misery, shame, and tyranny, and people will kill each other's children for ancient books and caves and relics. And who is going to say that this is good for the world? And that's just the example nearest to hand. Have you looked lately at the possibility that we used to discuss as children in fear? What will happen when messianic fanatics get hold of an apocalyptic weapon? Well, we're about to find that out.
And the final point that I'll make on that is because of the impossibility of trying to interpret the scriptures properly. Obviously, it leads to division between different religions. We've seen that branch out consistently. But the ones that take it the most seriously tend to bring violence with it. And so if you subscribe to what Exodus, Leviticus teach, you're going to believe that it's okay to use violence in certain situations if somebody who you think is not interpreting God's scriptures properly or part of a different religion altogether, that you will feel you have the right to exterminate them because the scripture said it was okay back then. And that's what goes on today with religion. It's constant violence justified in their minds because God says, this is your land. Oh no, it's not your land, it's our land, and so forth. And I agree with what he says there.
As we watch the Islamic Republic of Iran and its party of God allies make a dress rehearsal for precisely this. Have you looked lately at the teaching in Africa and the consequences of it, of a church that says AIDS may be wicked, but not as wicked as condoms? That's exactly no seconds left, ladies and gentlemen. I've done my best. Believe me, I have more. In fairness, no one was arguing that religion should or will die out of the world. And all I'm arguing is that it would be better if there was a great deal more by way of an outbreak of secularism. And I knew it would come up, that we'd be told about charity. And I take this very seriously. Because we know, ladies and gentlemen, as it happens, we're the first generation of people who do really, what the cure for poverty really is. It eluded people for a long, long time. The cure for poverty has a name, in fact. It's called the empowerment of women. Try it in Bangladesh, try it in Bolivia. It works all the time. Name me one religion that stands for that, or ever has. Wherever you look in the world and you try to remove the shackles of ignorance and disease and stupidity from women, it is invariably the clerisy that stands in the way. Or in the case of... Now, furthermore, if you're going to grant this to Catholic charities, say, which I would hope are doing a lot of work in Africa, if I was a member of a church that had preached that AIDS was not as bad as condoms, I'd be putting some conscience money into Africa too, I must say. But it won't bring... I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be funny. If I was trying to be funny, you mistook me. It won't bring back the millions of people who've died wretched deaths because of that teaching. That still goes on. I'd like to hear a word of apology from the religious about that, if it was on offer. Do we grant to Hamas and to Hezbollah, both of whom will tell you and incessantly do, look at our charitable work. Without us, Effendi, the poor of Gaza, the poor of Lebanon, where would they be but for our... And they're right. They do a great deal of charitable work. It's nothing compared to the harm that they do, but it's a great deal of work all the same.
I agree. I agree with that. If charity was all they did, that would be fine. If religions turned into charities, that would be great. But there's always an ulterior motive to that, whether it be through proselytization or something else. You know, join our church, and I'll give you a sandwich kind of thing. So there's always conditions attached to that charity.
We don't require divine permission to know right from wrong. We don't need tablets administered to us 10 at a time in tablet form on pain of death to be able to have a moral argument. No, we have the reasoning and the moral suasion of Socrates and of our own abilities. We don't need dictatorship to give us right from wrong, and that's my lot. Thank you. It would have to say, no, you are not to do this under the threat of reward, heaven, or the terror of punishment, hell. No, we can't offer you miracles. Find me the church that will say, forget all that. Faith healing, no. It would have to give that up. It would have to give up the idea of an eternal, unalterable authority figure who was judge, jury, and executioner against whom there could be no appeal, and who wasn't finished with you even when you died. That's quite a lot for religion to give up, don't you think? But who would not say it would be better off without it, if it was what Tony Blair would like it to be? An aspect of humanism, an aspect of compassion, an aspect of the realizations of human solidarity, the knowledge that we are in fact all bound up one with another, that we have responsibilities to one to another, and that, as I do when I give blood, partly because I don't lose the pint forever, I can always get it back, but that there's actually a sense of pleasure to be had in helping your fellow creature. I think that should be enough. Thank you.
It's funny because I feel like I'm a better person now because I do things for the sake of it instead of for the reward or punishment.
Consider yourselves, and consider this carefully, ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sisters, comrades, friends. Are you yourselves willing, for the sake of certain elements of the numinous, perhaps for a great record of good works, as it's proposed by Tony, are you willing to say that you give your allegiance to an ultimate Redeemer? Because you're not really religious if you don't believe that there is a divine supervision involved. You don't have to believe it intervenes all the time. If you don't believe that, you're already halfway out the door. You don't need me. But are you willing to pay the price of a permanent supervisor? Are you willing to pay the price of believing in things that are supernatural? Miracles, afterlives, angels. Are you willing to admit, perhaps this most of all, are you willing to admit that human beings can be the interpreter of this divine figure? Because a religion means that you will have to follow someone who is your religious leader. You can't, try as you may, follow Jesus of Nazareth. It can't be done. You can try and do it, it can't be done. You'll have to follow his vicar on earth. You'll have to say, this person has divine authority. I maintain that that and what goes with it is too much of a sacrifice of the mental and intellectual freedom that is essential to us to be tolerated. And you gain everything by repudiating that and standing up to your own full height. And you gain much more than you will by pretending that you're a member of a flock or in any other way, any kind of sheep. Thank you.
Okay, so that was fantastic. He's got a great way of explaining things. He's such a good speaker, and he knows his stuff. And I agree with everything he says. It is very much being like in a celestial dictatorship. It really is, because you've got the classic signs of a dictatorship / cult. As particular in my case, you've got a small group of people at the top who claim they have God's favor and His Holy Spirit and ability to distribute the truth and information to their subjects. And so, and they discourage looking at information outside of the cult. Only what they distribute is important. And that's a dictatorship in itself. That's classic cult-like thinking. And just experiencing it over my life has been, it strips you of who you are individually, and it discourages individuality, and you end up just being a spokesperson or a flyer for that organization. And you can't stray from it, you can't question, you can't doubt it. And if you do doubt, you're not praying hard enough. And the whole time I was in it, it was I could feel that. I could feel the doubt. I could feel that something is not right about this. But I always thought it was me. That was the problem. I always thought that my faith was not good enough, and that I was the wrong one, the bad person. And so guilt and shame was always a part of my life. So in a sense, yeah, it was like living in a celestial North Korea. Okay, so I don't have anything else to say at this point. That's as many of the thoughts in my tiny brain that I can get out for now. But feel free to ask me questions. What would you like to hear? And I'll try to answer them as best as possible. I may answer in the comments the odd time, but I'll probably answer your questions more in the videos as we go. That way everybody can participate in that. Thank you very much for watching and joining and supporting the channel. And it's already giving me some relief. I've bottled it up too much. There's not a lot I can do to find closure in it, because all of my friends, and my mother included, cannot talk to me. I'm shunned as an cult member. And so I can't even sit down and have a beer with my buddies that I used to hang out with and go, hey, you want to talk about this? This is why I left. What's your thoughts? And just have a general discussion. Because if I say anything now to them that is against the organization and the religion, I'm considered an apostate. In fact, doing these videos now, I'm considered an apostate, which means that instead of dying forever, I'm going to be dead forever. At least the one thing is they don't believe in hell. They just believe when you die, you're dead, and you get resurrected if you're good. So at least there's that. I don't have to worry about hell. I don't mind sleeping won't know it anyways. And some people, I guess, as was mentioned, kind of wish for there to be a God in an afterlife. But I don't really wish for that, to live under that type of a rulership and that type of a God. It's too man-made, it's too servile, and too praise all the time. Too much praise, too much worship all the time. I don't subscribe to that. I wouldn't want to. Do I hope that there's something more after this life? Of course. I think most of us would. That this wouldn't be the only thing there is, but it is what it is, right? And there's nothing we can do about that. And I can't just believe for the sake of believing anymore, just for comfort's sake. They say ignorance is bliss. In some ways it is, But once you have kind of experienced this and come out of it, ignorance is no longer an option. You have to deal with reality the way it's dealt to you. I'm willing to accept what is and all that we can know now, and not engage in wish thinking. So I hope that makes sense. All right. And again, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one on the Happy to Be Agnostic channel. I am Agnostic Brad. And let me know, maybe that title isn't appropriate for this channel. I'm just trying it out. Maybe you think there's something better I could put. Perhaps something about leaving the cult or something. I'm continually trying to refine that and see what works best, what really defines me. But maybe you guys can help me with that. And girls. All right. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care.